Sarawak will be the first state to administer the booster shots. Health Minister Khairi Jamaluddin said emphasis will be given to high-risk groups aged 60 years and above with serious comorbidities.
Sarawak akan mulakan pemberian dos penggalak pada bulan Oktober nanti. Dan kita akan memberi fokus kepada golongan yang berisiko tinggi, yang berusia 60 tahun ke atas dan yang mempunyai komorbiditi yang serius. Sebab kita dapati bahawa inilah kumpulan sekarang ini yang sedang mengalami gejala-gejala yang serius di hospital.
However, he reiterated that the shots are not meant for everyone. He added the types of vaccines to be administered for the third dose, be it the same type of vaccine received at the first 2 doses or otherwise, are still being studied.
Antara perkara yang akan kita sediakan dalam garis panduan klinikal nanti adalah berkenaan dengan jenis vaksin. Jadi kita masih lagi sedang menilai sama ada jenis vaksin yang sama ataupun jenis vaksin yang berbeza dapat diberi.
With the announcement, Sarawak is poised to be the first state to administer the third booster shot and thus learn how to live with the endemic phase. I'm Elliot reporting with Zaim for TVS.
Meanwhile, in the same development, Sarawak received an additional allocation of 3 million ringgit for the purpose of treating non-COVID-19 patients in private hospitals in Sarawak. The allocation was approved by the Ministry of Health to the Government of Sarawak. The amount is in addition to the earlier allocations of 5 million ringgit, in which 4.6 million ringgit has been utilised.
Ini adalah prosedur-prosedur pembedahan dan sebagainya yang terpaksa ditangguhkan. Now we want to send it to the private sector.
Khairi added, in an effort to ensure immediate action can be taken should there be a spike in cases, his ministry aims to increase the health capacity in Sarawak.
Kita telah pun menghantar ventilator 118 unit dan 1,008 silinder oksigen akan sampai pada 28 hari bulan, hari Selasa, akan dihantar oleh tentera udara diraja Malaysia.
Additionally, 30 ambulances will be sent in the near future, with 20 beds for the intensive care unit ICU, in which 10 beds are currently being prepared in SIBU hospital. Adding to that, he said MOH will also strengthen the virtual COVID-19 assessment center CAC in large cities in Sarawak such as Bintulu, Kuching and SIBU. At the same time, 64 additional medical officers will be deployed to Sarawak next week to assist in COVID-19 management.
Khairi said the government will accelerate the opening of Aman Hospital that was plagued by delays. He said the opening of the new hospital will help lessen the burden faced by Sarawak General Hospital.
Sebab hospital tu dah siap, cuma sekarang ni tempoh testing dan commission, tapi saya telah minta KSU melihat bila kita boleh awalkan pembukaan, kalau bukan semua, seluruh hospital Sri Aman yang baru, sebahagian dapat dibuka dengan lebih awal lagi, so kita boleh meringankan bebanan kepada hospital-hospital yang ada di Kuching.
The construction of the Sri Aman Hospital cost 192 million ringgit and involves 2 phases. Similarly, Khairi also said that the 300-bed Petrajaya Hospital is expected to be fully operational by 2021.
So we hope that Petrajaya Hospital dah dilantik dan ongoing now. By 2024, Petrajaya Hospital will be open, about 300 beds there.
Petrajaya Hospital was slated to be ready in November 2017, but it was postponed due to delays in construction. Earlier, Khairi visited SGH New Building and Field Hospital, which is in collaboration with Mercy Malaysia.
Now, as the country transitions into endemic phase, everyone, including social media influencers, are told to assist and disseminate accurate information on the implementation of the National Recovery Plan, NRP. Communications and Multimedia Minister Tan Sri Anwar Musa said influential people are responsible for educating the public by presenting information with an accurate narrative on government initiatives in PPN.
Ya, tapi kalau ada seorang influencer, dia ada ramai followers misalnya, kalau dia pun turut mengambil peranan untuk mengingatkan masyarakat, kita ni dah nak pergi ke zaman endemik, jadi janganlah tunggu soal penguat kuasa yang nak kuat kuasakan. Mari kita beramai-ramai, kita rakyat, kita laksanakan sendiri secara sukarela.
Apart from the use of conventional media such as television and radio, Anwar said dissemination mediums, including social media platforms such as TikTok and Facebook, could be used to disseminate information effectively, thus educating the public about the transition to the endemic phase. Therefore, he said, the ministries, government agencies and committees involved need to improve the aspect of information delivery to ensure its effectiveness to the public by holding continuous engagement. On September 22nd, Anwar informed the Dewan Rakyat of a proposal to set up a communications command center in an effort to convey information on decision by the government to the public more accurately, quickly and easily understood. He said the proposal was made following the challenges facing the implementations of government programs which were found to be due to misinformation and false information. The Phase 3 Bantuan Prihatin Rakyat BPR aid payments will be credited in stages into recipients' accounts beginning this Tuesday. Prime Minister Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri Yaakob said the payments, which will benefit approximately 3.6 million households, as well as those whose appeals were successful, are expected to be fully disbursed by September 30th. In a statement, Ismail Sabri said the Phase 3 payments will involve an allocations of 2.82 billion ringgit. He reiterated that for Phase 3, eligible recipients will receive up to 1,400 ringgit. Meanwhile, those who successfully appealed will get up to 2,300 ringgit, including an additional BPR payment of 500 ringgit under the Supplementary Strategic Program to empower the people and economy. Payments are made based on eligibility, which is determined by marital status, total household income, and the number of children. The Prime Minister said the government remained committed to ensuring the Malaysian families' well-being, especially target groups impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic. The government will need to focus on the digital economy and digital infrastructure, as well as productivity in the 12th Malaysia Plan 12 MP. Economists said this should be part of the aim of becoming a high-income economy as early as 2024, hence restoring the country's economic growth following the COVID-19 pandemic. The pandemic's impact has slowed the progress towards the threshold. The World Bank in its report said the country's gross national per capita is estimated at $11,200 or 46,911 ringgit Malaysia, just $1,335 short of the current threshold level that defines a high-income economy. Meanwhile, the Department of Statistics Malaysia said business capabilities to adapt to digitalization and technological developments will increase the efficiency and drive biz over the long run. The Department Chief Statistician Datuk Seri Dr. Muhammad Uzair Mahidin said the usage of technology would improve production and enhance productivity in the medium to long term. As Malaysian banks rating agency S&P Global's S&P shows a negative outlook, RHB Bank Berhad said the sector should remain resilient. S&P has reaffirmed an A- rating to Maybank, CIMB and Public Bank, while RHB and M-Bank are at BBB positive, with all five placed under negative outlook. RHB says the increased risk of government intervention in the Malaysian sector is negative, which could lead to further deterioration in asset quality. After the announcement that Sarawak will be the next tourism bubble destination after Langkawi, many are against it, saying that the move is not fair, as those who intend to return back to their hometown are still not allowed. But how true is this? Follow the second part of our Sarawak Travel Bubble series as we spoke with Sarawak Ministry of Tourism, Arts and Culture Permanent Secretary Hee Chang Kee on the matter.
I believe there are some miscommunications about this. Generally, Sarawak now is in Phase 3 of the National Recovery Plan, where tourism activities are allowed, all right, except, of course, in southern zones.
However, he said police permit is still required for inter-division travel, which includes going back to visit one's hometown. He added the standard operating procedure set by Sarawak Disaster Management Committee (SDMC) is constantly being reviewed from time to time.
Protocols are being eased in stages, right? We have the quarantine requirement for visitors coming in, but now we have forgo those requirements if one has completed their vaccination. And also, you know that we have just relaxed the requirement for swab tests, all right, for inter-division and inter-district travel. And I think as our situation improves, especially in the southern zone, inter-division travel will be resumed without hassle, even police permit requirement. I think give it time. I think SDMC will continue to ease those requirements if our situation improves.
While optimistic we may be for a reopening, what would happen if the travel bubble burst? According to he, the ministry is coming up with a few measures such as health and buy now, travel later, which will protect visitors in the unlikely event of a cancellation.
So in case of unlikely event of rising cases, we will have protocols in place for the visitors. I think some important protocols that need to be in place are what to do if tourists turn up to be positive during the tour. All right. So health protocols, evacuation protocols need to be in place. And also probably some of our tourist package need to be having policies like buy now and travel later, all right? Just like our Siasito, right? And also probably we need to ease some of the policies regarding cancellation because of COVID-19. And insurance packages to make sure the travel is smooth, and in case of any eventualities, even their hospitalization or travel could be catered for. And also, I think also is the responsibility of tour agents and guides to have watchful eyes on their customers.
Sarawak is one of the top states in Malaysia which surpassed the 80% vaccination rate of its adult population and is ready for gradual reopening as it tries to live with COVID-19 in the endemic phase.
那个店号是我爸爸妈妈创立的，1986年创立，第一间是在Jalan Sabtok。
那个是第一间，到现在还有。第一天开店的时候才做67块7啊。
从我接手以来，我们就有一个想法，我们想要把不一样的带出来给大家。
10年前跟10年后的大家不一样啊。
我刚刚进来的时候，大概还是一个比较传统的蛋糕店哦，跟现在相比有吗？现在已经转型了，非常的多。
Now, Sarawak today recorded 2,943 COVID-19 infections, a slight increase compared to the number of cases identified yesterday. Sarawak's cumulative COVID-19 toll is now closing to the 200,000 mark as the state registered 199,089 COVID-19 cases up to date. However, 99.69% of the total cases recorded today are of Category 1 and 2.
Only 9 cases, or 0.31% from the total infections recorded today, are classified as Category 3, 4, and 5. Kuching once again registered the most COVID-19 cases in the state with 810 cases, followed by SIBU with 377 cases and Miri with 324 cases. Only 1 cluster was reported today, while 8 clusters ended. Malaysia recorded 13,104 COVID-19 cases today, adding the total number of infections since the pandemic began to 2,198,235.
As the COVID-19 vaccination program is actively administered to children aged 12 to 15, parents are urged to send their children according to the given date and time. Kuching South City Council MBKS also reminded parents to play their role to ensure their children are fully vaccinated and protected from the virus. Meanwhile, MBKS Mayor Dato' Wee Hong Seng in a statement also urged parents to avoid bringing their children to public places at the moment. The mayor reminds that the said age group are vulnerable and prone to get infected with COVID-19. In the same development, Deputy Education Minister Dr. Ma Hang Soon said some 30.1% out of 2.53 million students aged 12 to 17 had received their first dose of the vaccine nationwide. He said another 4.4% had been fully vaccinated in the program. A total of 894 teenagers from Sarawak Northern Region aged between 12 to 15 years old received their first dose of vaccine today. 550 of them were administered in Maradong district, while the remainder, 354 teenagers, received their vaccine in Matu district.
In Maradong, the COVID-19 vaccine was distributed at the Maradong Community Hall, where it involved students from SMK Kai Chung. Its assemblyman, Dato' Ding Kwong Hing, was present during the session and was delighted to see a good response from the teenagers. He hopes the students will complete their vaccination regime in time for the next academic session. Meanwhile, in Matu, vaccination took place at Matu Community Hall, where it welcomed students from SMK Matu, SK Sok, SJK Chung Hua, SK Beruan Mapal, SK Kuala Matu, and teenagers who are not attending any school. Many were accompanied by their parents and are anticipating the day when school reopens.
MOH has released the data today which showed almost half of the total COVID-19 fatalities in Malaysia comprised of those aged between 50 to 70 years old. This reflects 45% or 10,878 out of 24,078 deaths in Malaysia as of September 21st.
The data was accumulated since March 17 of last year. There were a total of 6,391 deaths classified within the age range of 21 to 50 years old, where 657 cases were 21 to 30 years old, 2,067 cases involved 31 to 40 years old, and 3,667 cases are those aged between 41 to 50 years old. At the same time, 0.45% or 110 cases of deaths involved those aged 20 and below, where 9 were infants, 31 were aged 10 and below, and 70 cases for those aged 11 to 20 years old. Deaths involving senior citizens stands at 2,621, where most cases involved the 81 to 90 years old group. Those aged between 91 and 100 and above 101 years old recorded 361 and 22 deaths respectively. The Ministry of Health MOH has also released data showing the number of fatalities involving those who have been vaccinated. Classified by vaccine types, Sinovac recorded the highest fatality with a total of 503 deaths. 265 have completed the regime, 42 received their second dose, and the remainder only received one dose. 288 deaths were recorded for those who were administered with the Pfizer vaccine, while AstraZeneca recorded the lowest fatality with only 75 deaths.
Now, the COVID-19 Vaccination Center PPV in SIBU Central Market will end its operation on October 22nd. Walk-ins for the first dose vaccine will only be allowed until September 30th, while the second dose will be administered from October 1st onwards. Members of the public who are not able to get themselves vaccinated during this period can still head over to Jalan Lanang Health Clinic or Sibu Jaya Health Clinic.
Pusat pemberian vaksin kita di dekat Central Market, Pasar Sentra di Sibu. Tarikh akhir kita beri first dose ialah pada 30 hari bulan September. Selepas itu kita akan beri second dose sehingga 22 hari bulan. Dan ianya akan ditutup pada 22 hari bulan Oktober. Selepas 30 hari bulan, kita tidak terima first dose lagi.
As the world still heavily relies on fossil fuels, many countries have shifted their focus to renewable energy. The fastest growing source of energy does not only benefit the climate, environment, economy and social cohesion, as renewable energy are virtually inexhaustible, having the ability to replenish themselves without depleting the planet's resources. Such practices is no stranger here in Sarawak, having hydroelectricity as the main energy source powered from its rivers, which is a national treasure that needs to be preserved.
Rivers in Sarawak have played an integral role in both economically and socially for its people. Therefore, this year, World River Day 2021 celebration will emphasize on the role of local communities to maintain the cleanliness, beauty of the rivers, and the environmental sustainability. Minister of Local Government and Housing, Datuk Sri Dr. Sim Kui Hian, says the river preservation and care is vital at ensuring the local residents who live nearby riverbanks are safe while tapping on the resources to enhance the socio-economics. Dr. Sim noted the potential trade-off on the dependency of fossil fuel, whereby renewable energy meets the objectives of a circular economy and is a strong driver for social and economic development.
In Sarawak, we have solar, we can water. So that's why we are very, very fortunate that our CM AMAN has a vision to go ahead. And instead of just depending on oil and gas. Oil and gas, you keep on mining, it will finish. And we will go further and further out in the sea to mine. And so the water gives us not just a hydro, I want the green energy through hydrogen, and also all these like bakung, the bakung is a big lake, yeah. It also can have a solar farm, because the solar. So from the water, it gives us hydroelectricity, solar electricity, hydrogen electricity. So Sarawak is very blessed. In the next few years, all this technology, once it start coming on board, it will make a lot of money for Sarawak.
A family of 5 were left homeless after their home of over 20 years collapsed at around 7:40 a.m. last Friday in Kampong Stutong, Kuching. Richard I, a father of 3, and his wife said that his family now relies on the people's generosity in providing a shelter for his family.
Minta semua orang nak bantu kumagang mengagak rumah baru. Laban ada no dia, laban kami itu lebih dari 10 tahun dah. Di kampus Stutong, Sungai Stutong tu. Ngajak menjaga aku minta gaya rata besar-besar minta bantu sedaya, minta tolong sedaya yang rumah. Labannya nyon ada lagi dia orang seriaman kira kapakai Inggris Stutong tu mak udah lama mudah itu.
Richard told TVS he tried to provide a comfortable shelter for his family but was unable to due to financial constraint. He currently works as a grass cutter while his wife is a full-time housewife. Despite living in the city, the family still depend on kerosene lamp and generators as their home lacks an electric supply.
50 tahun terus kena ada api, kami saya pakai kadang-kadang beli ke minyak, ketiba pun ada duit lagi. Kena bateri ke kami, kena lampu kereta, kita mun dah lampu kereta kako. Hanya lampu keretanya ke kena. Ya aku minta tidak kasih aku minta tolong sudah api lah aku. Ada lampu kereta lainnya. Nanya kami kena diesel do ambil kami beli kami minyak sampai RM3 kena diesel ke. Ya pedih mai kami. Lebih tidak ada duit kena beli minyak dah. Ya diesel kena kami.
For the meantime, the family lives under a makeshift hut built from the remnants of the collapsed house by Richard himself.
Pangkiam miatnya jad gagak kul mai marinya malah kami dia kami berdua dulu ngai jadi labannya tadi dia udah kimahnya ngai tu jadi labotnya nada berdinding semua.
For this moment mungkin kita akan bantu dari segi kita bersihkan dulu tempat sekarang yang adalah yang tempat untuk makcik, mungkin kita sediakan shuttle untuk sementara, also kitchen mungkin kita sediakan sementara waktu sebelum ada mana-mana pihak ataupun YB kawasan untuk turun membantu seterusnya.
Hai semua, jangan lupa saksikan Inspirasi TVS, segmen berita yang mengetengahkan laporan berkaitan rakyat, hiburan serta topik trending.
Inspirasi TVS dan saya Melissa Francis.
Saya Hairi Francis.
Saya Dewiliana Suriesta.
Dan saya Tony Yusof.
Saya Bob Yusof akan menemani anda.
Dan saya Mahmud Ali Bashar.
Dan saya Nana Shimi.
Dan saya Andin Indrawani.
Saya REBOUND.
Welcome back. At least 3 people died on September 25th and about 50 passengers were injured after 5 cars of an Amtrak train went off the rails in north-central Montana, United States. According to U.S. media report, the train derailed near the town of Joplin at around 4 p.m. local time. Dozens of passengers was reported to be trapped aboard soon after the derailment. In a statement, Amtrak said they are working with the local authorities to transport injured passengers and safely evacuate all trapped passengers. The New York Times reported that well over 50 people were confirmed injured in the accident. The cause of the incident was not immediately clear. The train had about 147 passengers and 13 crew aboard when 5 cars derailed near Joplin. And yes, in UK, drivers are continuing to stand in long queues in London as the panic buying at petrol stations continues. These long queues at stations across London continue for the 3rd day today despite warnings from the government and supermarkets not to panic buy fuel and goods as the shortage of lorry drivers hit supplies across the UK. Some petrol stations in the capital have closed due to the shortage of fuel, leading to a build-up of cars at stations which are open. Photos and videos shared online has shown long queues of cars trying to get fuel from petrol stations across all parts of London. Although there is not a shortage of petrol and diesel in the UK, there is a shortage of fuel at petrol pumps. This is due to the lack of SGV drivers, which is causing issues with transporting fuel from distribution terminals to forecourts. The ongoing shortage of SGV drivers has caused chaos for supermarkets, restaurants and retailers throughout the summer. The government is expected to deal with the shortage by implementing a visa change, which will allow thousands of foreign lorry drivers to work in the UK. The shortage of SGV drivers is thought to be the result of post-Brexit immigration rules and self-isolation requirements. On Thursday, the UK Road Haulage Association trade body said there was a shortage of 100,000 drivers. It has been more than a month since Taliban gained control over Afghanistan and some schools has been reopened. However, its citizens are still concerned whether more girls will be allowed to return to school or will it be limited to a certain quota. Female students at a school in northern Afghanistan hopes that more schoolgirls would be able to come back to class and resume their studies. Most educational institutions in the capital have remained closed and girls in the secondary school and above have not been allowed to go back to school.
شپږم تر ولر سنفونه باید خلاص سي او ټول استادان او شاګردان دلته راسي خبره نه ده موږ نه بیریږو دا غني در مګر سره خوري چې موږ و بیریږو او هغه طالب عسکران چې و بیجابي هم دی او اوس که د خلک بیجابي هم دغه بیجابي هم رعایت کوي.
Another student, Sadaf, explained that many of them do not fear the Taliban as their presence is to govern the country, similar to their predecessor.
شکر خدا از طالبان ترسی نداریم اونا بیامدن به اینجا حکومت میکنم باید بکنم او وقتا که دولتیان بود خوب بود آلیم که می اسلامی شدم.
Previously, Taliban officials stated that they will not replicate policies of the previous Taliban government which banned girls' education. Many are still skeptic about how much Taliban would give into women's rights and education for female. Well, that's conclude TVS Nightline. I'm Ruben Gomez. Anytime, anywhere.